You're listening to The Upland Rookie, a podcast presented by Upland Brits, B Pro Kennels, Final Rise, and Inukshuk Professional Dog Food. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Upland Rookie Podcast. I'm your host, Will Larson, and this is episode 65 with Steve Snell of Gundog Supply. Steve and I have a great conversation. We get into his string of pointers and some of the history of dogs that he's run over the years and what's made those dogs special. Steve has a really good eye for good dogs and what they look like, and some of the characteristics that he looks for when picking out a dog. It's a question I get quite a bit on the podcast is, what do you look for? Again, I am no expert, but someone like Steve has been at this for years. You might want to tune into this one, take some notes on, you might learn a thing or two. We also dive into tracking and training collars. If you're in the market for a tracking or training collar, two things. One, give Gundog Supply a look, gundogsupply.com, or reach out to Steve. He's got some awesome videos on the website. Reach out to him directly or through Gundog Supply. If you can't decide, a certain model to go with, or if you have questions about any of the devices, he'd be more than happy to chat with you and help you narrow that down. We do chat about collars, tracking and training devices quite a bit on this episode, so if you're in the market, you're going to want to tune into this. We also chat a little bit about kind of a new, I don't want to say the new generation, but just the enthusiasm and the excitement with a lot of new upland hunters. What that means. Someone like Steve who's been at this for years, you might be surprised at his response. I was encouraged. I'll say that. Anyways, we're going to run through sponsors here. We got B Pro Kennels. B Pro Kennels. Ben just put out a wicked photo of a custom camo dog box the other day. If you're in the market for a custom dog box, give B Pro Kennels a serious look. They're online at bprokennels.com, also on Instagram, and these kennels are top notch, super safe. Internals are that what do they call it, like a roll tube frame, kind of like that of a Jeep. So it's going to be safe in the back of your truck, safe for your dogs. It's got a ton of features that if you want, that's great. If you don't want a solar panel, no worries. If you want a solar panel, then this is your guy to talk to for your custom dog box. Again, custom colors, design, you name it. Ben's going to take care of you. So give B Pro Kennels a look. Check them out. Use code ROOKIE10. It's going to save you 10% off your entire order at B Pro Kennels, which is a good chunk of change when we're talking a custom premium dog box. So give them a look over there. I want to thank Inukshuk Professional Dog Food. Love Inukshuk Professional Dog Food. It has been what I've been feeding my dogs for quite a while. You've heard me talk about it before. Love this formula. Love the company too. It's been a great company to work with. I've had questions. I've reached out, gotten an immediate response. So I've been really, really happy. And more importantly, the dogs have responded well, have acted well. I know some guys who are running this for their entire string of dogs, kennels, and just having the same results. Dogs are healthy, poops are normal, high energy level. Dogs look great. They're keeping weight on through the hunting season. So if you're considering a new food and kind of shopping around in the market, maybe I would highly encourage you give Inukshuk a try. We are going to be doing another episode with Inukshuk guys. And the next, we got to land a date still. So Brian, if you're out there, we got to get a date on the calendar again to get you guys back on the show. I think we're going to do a listener Q&A. So if you have questions about Inukshuk, please write those into me, and then we'll compile a list and get the Inukshuk team back on here. Also want to thank Final Rise Gear. Final Rise, guys, you've heard me talk about Final Rise, the Summit vest I have. I think last week I actually said I have the Legacy vest. I don't. I don't have the Legacy vest. I have Summit and the Sidekick. So that was a mishap. But love both those vests to death. Have held up super well, ultra durable, and customizable too. You've heard me talk about just being able to customize the shell pockets, pouches, how much water you can carry. I mean, it is it's a solid vest. And again, even in the cold months here, was it October right now? It's late October. and it's chilly out there. So we're getting into some chilly hunts, and I'll still carry tons of water for the dogs. Just because I'm, let's say, going on a pheasant hunt doesn't mean I'm not going to carry water for the dog. So I can load that thing down, plenty of water for myself, dogs, all that good stuff. So if you're in the market for a vest, finalrise.com. You heard me talk about the gloves the Final Rise has out last week. Just premium gear and just a freaking awesome company run by Matt Davis and his awesome team. So Matt, thanks for putting out some great gear that is just functional, that works well and stands the test of time. So appreciate that, man. Trinity Bretons putting out and breeding some of the best bred Epinal Bretons in the country. I know some buddies of mine have pups from them over the last couple months. They've picked up some new pups from Trinity Bretons. Again, Josh and Jeff Ryder, who run Trinity Bretons, just some great people. Again, their intentionality into breeding, bird dog development, and they've really gotten into the trial game as well, and just be able to kind of test their dogs, see what these dogs are made of, see how they stack up against some big running pointers, which is crazy. Seeing these little EBs take on some pointers in some big trials. So anyways, check out Trinity Bretons website, trinitybretons.com, Facebook, all that good stuff, or reach out to Jeff or Josh directly if you have questions about the breed, about the availability, what you're looking for. Again, that's key with what you are looking for, your hunting style. So anyways, check them out, trinitybretons.com. All right, guys, I think that's all for that's all for ad stuff. Other than that, we got the giveaway coming up here. I'll now contact the giveaway winner in a couple days here, November 1st. So get signed up on patreon.com. We'll get that giveaway drawn and get that winner contacted. So other than that, I have a few hats left of the Upland Rookie. If you'd like one, shoot me a message and I'll get that shipped out to you as quick as I can. What else was I going to say? Hey, I think that's about everything. Rocking and rolling here. Again, I'm really excited for this episode with Steve Snell. I've followed Steve and just I've bought products from his company for several years. Reach out to him, and he was super gracious to come on here and share some of his knowledge and wisdom with bird dogs and hunting and gear and all that fun stuff, which is all the stuff I love. I love talking about. So anyways, we're going to dive right in without further ado. Hope everyone's doing well and having a great season. I'm seeing a lot of photos out there, people killing birds and having fun, which is more importantly. Keep tagging the Upland Rookie podcast in those posts. Love resharing those. I love reading the captions of what you guys write. There's been photos, whether you have birds or don't have birds. I love reading the captions of kind of what that hunt meant to you, what that moment was, what, that sunset in the field, or your kids on the tailgate, grinning ear to ear just because they were out there with you. So whatever it is, would love to reshare some of those. So tag the Upland Rookie podcast on your social posts, and I'll be sure to reshare some of those. So anyways, I hope everyone's doing well. We're going to dive into episode 65 with Steve Snell. My outline and all that good stuff. But so first thing I wanted to ask you about was, and we're going to talk about Garmin stuff a little bit more later and some of the products that Gun Dog Supply offers. Sure. But the Pro 550 Plus holster.
Yes.
Talk about that thing. That thing looks freaking awesome.
So, okay. So I didn't use, there's a couple holsters on the market that are leather. And I have not used a holster with my 550 Plus since day one. I like the carabiner clip that Garmin makes, and it attaches to the unit has a lanyard attachment, at the bottom of it. And so I just attached my, that carabiner clip, and then that way, I just snap it onto me and I go about my business. And I tend to switch my gear over about once a year. Okay. I don't do it every year, but it's I kind of like to have. You'll fall into this. This is what the units are doing. Well, if you've got a 5-year-old, Alpha 200 or 200i. Well, okay, those haven't been around for 5 years, but but we're 4 years in on the 550 Plus, something like that. Yeah. Okay, and I could still have my first one, but if there was something new going on that I just want to know about it. Sure. So I kind of like to have stuff. I just replaced all my collars today.
Okay.
Just took stuff off the shelf, and I'll sell, what I've got.
Yeah.
And I was using, like minis last year. We were doing a test on something, and I used to use minis, and then I went back to regulars, and then I went back to minis last year for a test, and now I'm back on the X's. But when I started looking at my 550 plus handhelds, they're just beat to they look gnarly, and I like them clipped. I like to use. I typically I'm using left hand when I'm hunting.
Sure.
And it hangs about belt height for me. Typically, I clip it to my vest, or I clip it to if I'm using a shooting belt, I clip it to that. And it's out in front. And so everything that I'm going through, it's going through first.
Sure.
And it was one of those things where I was just like, I got to figure something out because this is just not working for me. And, and the units actually held up pretty well, but it just looked rough. And
sure.
I just, So we have a cut and sew. We bought a company 2018 maybe that made the Busy Bed products that we were selling, and they were going out of business or something. And so we bought their cut and sew, which was something that we had been wanting to do for a long time. And so over the years we've been doing a few things along those lines. And we bought the Silmar vests in 2020.
Okay.
And so we've been making those, and we were just kind of geared up, and we're getting ready for some new stuff. And I took the holster, I took the unit, and I took some older, holster designs to my guys that they do the production, but they also do a good chunk of the design. And I just said, okay, it's got to do this and this and this. And basically, the problem with the 550 plus is that you have to have the entire front, the face of the unit
all open.
The whole thing's open. You got to have access to the whole thing, which makes it kind of tricky. And it was one reason why I don't think anybody really looked at it.
Sure.
And so I took it to my two main design folks and just said, hey, I want something that protects this, but I've got to have access to this, and I've got to have this and this, and here's a couple of old designs, and I want it like this. And the biggest thing that I wanted, and this is the frustration with most of the holsters, is that you got to make sure that it's secure.
Yeah.
And there's nothing worse than a holster that's not. And you're talking about an open-faced holster, and trying to make an open-faced holster secure is just, Yeah. So my thought was, okay, we're going to attach a piece to it that actually goes through the lanyard attachment on the unit. So
it's kind of like an anchor point almost.
Yeah, basically. And it's in the bottom. I wish I had one here with me. I got one in my truck, but it's just a piece of nylon that's got a little buckle on it, and it slides through. You basically, when you put it together, we've got a video online, but when you put it together, the back of it is open also because I wanted access to the charging port.
Yeah, that's another
because having to
thing.
having to take a holster. Yeah, nothing's good about that.
No,
yeah, and
no one wants to do that.
Besides that, everything that you're talking about there, the more you take it on, the more you take it off. It's wear and tear on the unit. It stretches it, and it's not ideal. And so that was that was the thing for me that was kind of a deal breaker. It was like, okay, you got to be able to do this. Well, so when you're putting the holster on, you push the bottom of the unit through that back piece, and then you feed this. It's a small 3/4 inch nylon, and it goes through it, and then it goes back through the buckle. So you've got some attachments that hold the antenna in place if you've got the unit upside down. And there's one on each antenna. But if both of those break, it doesn't matter because it's still attached.
Yeah, that's again, like I said, if it breaks, then something's going to happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of we put a lot of pressure on the gear that we use in the field, and so that's a big part. In my opinion, you've got to have stuff that has been tested and drugged through everything. And so the only thing that I will say is that this holster design we started it in early August, I guess, which is another thing that I love about having everything in-house.
Sure.
Because, it was one of those things where I think on the second design, they gave me something that I wanted. Okay. And then I had them do a production run. And this is the first time I've ever gone just live on Facebook and said, hey, I need some testers. And it got out of hand really fast.
I saw that post. I was like, whoa, this is, I was like a week late. And I was like, there was like 200 comments on there.
Yeah. And so it was one of those things where I was like, okay, next time I'll do that differently. But we got them out in the field, and I think of the probably 30 people that did testing for me, I think only one was unhappy with it. And I think he came back around, about 2 weeks later and was like, the more I mess with it, the more I like it. So
Nice.
I think overall, and we made a couple of adjustments to it.
Okay.
And we'll see. It is one of those things too that I really I've used one, but I haven't used one in the field yet.
Sure.
And so,
are those live on the website now?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we've got them in orange and pink, and we actually use the same material that we use on the Silmars. Okay. So it's pretty tough. It's a ripstop nylon that's pretty tough.
That's awesome. And you can do a carabiner clip or lanyard kind of any configuration.
So we've got two different setups. We've got one that comes with an Italian bronze snap on the bottom, and so if you like to wear it, on your vest and upside down, that one was designed pretty much for me because that's the way I use it.
Sure.
But then we took, and I don't know if Garmin still makes it. I had to look, but Tritronics used to make what they called was a 4-way holster.
Okay.
And it's basically the same design as that in that, it's got a belt loop on it. It's got a handhold.
Was that for the 550, original 550?
Yeah, the 550 and even back further than that.
Okay.
They had some holsters that went back even further than the 500, the G2s and the G3s. They had one. And I think they even had some. Yeah, they had some that were further than that, the big tubes.
Okay.
But, it also comes with a strap. You could attach a carabiner to it. It doesn't come with a carabiner, but you could attach a carabiner to it if you wanted to. A couple of different spots where you can do that on that holster. And then it also comes with a shoulder strap, and you can wear it. Some folks like to wear it over their shoulder and hang low.
Cross.
And then some folks like to cross it where it's, it's on their chest.
Sure.
And so
very cool.
So we'll see. Like I said, I don't know if we'll do any other designs on that.
Yeah.
We've done a similar design on just for the regular 550s and the Pro 70s.
Sure.
But it's still in development. I'm not sure. I'm not happy with it yet.
Okay.
So we'll see. I'll come back around and catch it.
A little more tinkering.
Yeah, we'll see.
That's good. That's
good. We've had a lot going on. We have a lot of new stuff in production right now. And
that's exciting.
So, they told me to go away. They were like, okay.
They're like, too much, Steve, too much.
Yeah, we have enough. And so, and it's really not that time of year. We try not to do new stuff this time of year.
Sure.
Some stuff just came together.
Yeah, so the way it works sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we went down a whole rabbit hole. I had to ask you that, though. I was like, you know what? That looked like a really cool product. And I had to ask you about that. So we're going to back way up, Steve. Can you introduce yourself? Just tell everyone a little bit about yourself. Give us a quick overview and where are you talking to us from? And then we'll dive in.
I'm Steve Snell. I am one of the family members that owns a company called Gundog Supply. We're based in Matheson, Mississippi. And we sell hunting dog supplies, pretty much. If you need something to train a bird dog or a retriever or a hound, rabbit dogs, squirrel dogs, that's pretty much what we do. And then we also have a pretty strong just obedience, pet base. We sell. Our goal is basically to sell high quality gear, and so we have a tendency to folks get frustrated with a lot of the pet stuff that's out there. It's amazing the low quality pet stuff that is available to the general market.
Sure.
And so even though we are mainly a hunting supplier, we sell an enormous amount of stuff to the pet market.
Yeah. Oh, that's very cool, man. Very cool. Well, thanks so much for jumping on this podcast with me, and love to pick your brain a little bit. But Steve, let's back up a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your story on getting into hunting. Let's back up. Like, did you grow up in a hunting family? Were you?
I did.
Did you start this later in life? Like, tell us your story a little bit.
No, I grew up. I don't remember. I don't remember life prior to bird dogs. My father. He had an uncle that got him into bird dogs, and then he and his brother were both real big into bird dogs. And I would wait at the house, for them to get back to help clean birds and take care of dogs when I was 4 or 5 years old. I clearly remember that being a thing. Started getting to go when I was 9 or 10. And pretty much, I haven't had a period where I wasn't bird hunting. I didn't hunt. We hunted in Mississippi primarily when I was a teenager. We field trialed a good bit when I was a teenager, and around Oh, I was probably 20 or 21. So it's 91, 92, somewhere in that neighborhood. The quail populations in Mississippi got pretty bad starting about the mid 80s, to the point that my father actually apologized to me at a certain point for getting me hooked on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, Steve.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. And it was one of those things because, I've never deer hunted a day in my life. We have, Mississippi has a huge deer population. I just, it's just never, it's never been.
Still to this day?
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't.
You just rather be working bird dogs?
Yeah, it's really, I haven't done a single kind of hunting yet that didn't involve, if it doesn't have dogs involved with it, it doesn't really interest me. I don't know. And I've done some of the other stuff, but
Sure.
I really,
you know where your passion's at. You know where, you know what you love. Yeah.
And, I duck hunt a little bit, but I'm not obsessed with it. I enjoy it, but there's no duck season that I'm aware of that there's not an upland season open somewhere.
So you're like, if I had to choose.
Yeah. And if you see me duck hunting a lot, it means bird numbers are really bad, and I am bored.
Steve's in the duck blind again.
Yeah. Yeah. So now my brother's obsessed with duck hunting. He has a problem.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So we were comparing calendars today because it was like, well, I'm going, I'm leaving for South Dakota, and then he's like, well, I'm leaving for North Dakota in about a week. Yeah.
I'm sure that gets crazy.
So, but yeah, he'll be in a cornfield somewhere and I'll be,
Yeah.
So, I don't, I've always been it's always been my thing.
Yeah. So when did that, so I guess what kind of bird dogs did you grow up with? And then when did that kind of start to take shape in your own life?
So when I was a kid, we had pointers and setters, primarily setters. But around the time I was 79 or 80, which I was 9 or 10, my dad bought his first Brittany. And he did not look back after that. He was there. I usually find that there's two kinds of bird dog guys. There's either the guys that they want a particular breed because that's the breed that they want, or you have the guys that want a breed that nobody else has. And they want something. And at that time, Brittany's were pretty rare in this part of the world.
Okay.
And so he bought, it was really my first bird dog. It was a Brittany that came from Rick Smith out of his Perry's Rustic Prince.
Okay.
And she was a bad mamma jamma. Oh, man. Kind of ruined me.
Really?
I did not have another dog of her caliber until I was in my 30s.
Wow.
And that was and maybe I have to look back a little bit. Perhaps I'm spoiled. My first Brittany was the best Brittany I ever had. My first pointer was the best pointer I've ever had. So, yeah. So I don't know.
And so you were pretty young at this point, right? So
yeah.
Brittany and the pointer?
The Brittany, I didn't have my pointer. I got my first pointer when I was 30.
Okay.
And so we had Brittany's from the time that I was about 10 until I was 30.
So
and my father had Brittany's his entire life.
Yeah. What made that, thinking back on that Brittany, again, you were a young guy, love bird hunting. Like what made that dog special? And looking back of like, why having other dogs compared to her?
So, there's a difference between a good bird dog and a great bird dog. And most people, I don't know, great bird dogs create birds. They find birds when other dogs can't. And she was one of those dogs. I wish I had GPS just to know, because some dogs will stretch until they find them.
Sure.
If they're not finding them, they're going to start stretching and they're going to start working and they're going to find them.
Yeah.
And she was one of those dogs.
Oh, wow.
She was the kind of dog. Yeah. And so, you have those dogs that just, they understand.
Push a little extra.
And they're just wild bird dogs, and they understand, and they're not going to get beat. I don't remember her ever having to back. It was not something that
she was always getting in there first.
Yeah. If she was on the ground, she was going to, you were going to be backing her.
Yeah.
It was just that simple.
Wow.
And just a really, really amazing animal.
Oh, that's cool. And who was she out of again?
Perry's Rustic Prince.
Okay.
It was I've
heard that name tossed around.
It's one of Rick's dogs that he won a lot with, and really nice. And
were you trialing at that point at all? Were you getting into that side of things?
We did a bunch of MBHA trials, here and a couple other, Alabama and Florida. I did that as a teenager.
Okay.
My dad, it was one of those things that at a certain point he said to me, okay, we can trial or we can hunt, but we can't do both.
Okay.
And it was a pretty simple call for me.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, and I think it's a great thing. And if you have time for it, or if you like competition, or I think it's a good thing. But I haven't trialed since I was 17.
Oh wow. Okay. So a while ago.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you trial with that dog?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
She did all right.
Yeah, I'm sure. Okay, so talk about your dogs now, I guess. Like, what are you running currently? Why? Give us the kind of the rundown.
So I have my string right now. It's probably the smallest it's been in a long time. I've got 8 dogs. I have 7 pointers, and then I have Cowboy, who is he's not really a setter. He's a drop.
A drop?
A drop? Yeah. You familiar with drops?
No.
Okay.
You're saying DROP, right?
DROP.
Okay.
I don't know if there's another word for it. It is they were used to be real common in the South. You don't see it quite as much. But most drops in the South are pointers and setter crosses. And basically you take, you're trying to
blend both those
worlds? You're trying to get the best of this and the best of that kind of thing.
Okay. I have not heard of that.
Yeah. So he comes out of he's what's called a better.
Okay.
Are you familiar with Dale Rollins?
No.
He's a quail researcher.
No, I'm not.
You should interview Dr. Rollins.
Okay, Dr. Rollins. Yeah. I'm writing that down.
Yeah. He's got a really good quail podcast called Dr. Dale on Quail.
Okay, nice. I think I've heard of that.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So that's Dale Rollins. He used to be the executive director for the Rolling Plains Quail Research. He has recently retired.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And he's still I don't know what his technical I don't know what we're calling it now. We still call it. He's still run a big chunk of the show, but he does a podcast for the Research Ranch.
Very cool.
And so it is a setter Brittany cross. He didn't have a whole lot of
setter Brittany or setter pointer?
Yeah. Setter Brittany.
Setter Brittany. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so it's Brittany and setter, and Dr. Rollins calls them betters. So
okay.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Okay, it's all clicking now.
And I tell people ask, and I don't try to explain it because it's too complicated. So I tell people he's a setter, but he's
So he looks like a setter, I'm guessing.
He's a little suspect. Yeah. Yeah. He's not. He's a nice bird dog though.
That's cool. I was gonna say how's that working out? Like.
He's it was interesting. I haven't had setters. I'd never had a setter that was my own. And I'd always been told that they develop slower than pointers.
Okay.
And, I have a pointer named Pepper that I bought. She might be 2 months older than him. And she came out of the womb pointing, she just locked up, and Cowboy didn't point a bird until he was about 1.5 years old.
Oh, wow.
I mean, he'd find them, but he was ripping them out, just having a good old time. Yeah. And then one day it just, he flipped a switch.
Really?
And he's probably my number 2 dog right now.
Really? Even out of the pointers?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he's bad. He's a bad dude.
Wow.
Yeah. Now he is required that great bird dogs be, and I'm not ready to say he's a great bird dog
Sure.
yet. He has suffered from the fact that upland populations in the part of the world that I hunt have not been great the last few years.
Sure.
But he's crazy enough to be a great bird dog.
Really? Okay. He's kind of got that spark you're seeing.
Yeah. They have to be willing to hurt themselves and and push, and he ripped out of a kennel of mine the other day, and I haven't written about it yet, but it was impressive, and the fact that he didn't get hurt really bad was impressive. But he decided he didn't want to be in it anymore, and that's a certain crazy. And
it sounds like you like a dog that's again has that borderline like.
I like an outlaw that's just right on the edge of I find that in especially hunting, in the prairie and in Texas, you need a dog that's got soft is not something that you're looking for.
Sure.
You need one that's got a pretty tough edge to him.
Yeah.
And, I like for him to be able to calm down and to, most of my dogs, I don't know if you can make all of my dogs house dogs, but I'd be very comfortable with the majority of them.
Sure.
But I need dogs that are tough.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to
not just physically, mentally, like you need the whole rounded package, right?
Yeah, because it can be a grind, and I want a dog that's willing to to push and to go.
Yeah.
And that's a tricky combination of where you need one that's got and getting ones that are really good but can also turn it off. That's tricky. It's not an easy thing to do. Well, but I'm kind of particular about where my dogs come from. And, breeders and that kind of stuff. I think that's probably the biggest mistake that people make. They don't put enough effort into the. You can do so much of your training by finding the right breeder and finding the right combination.
Gosh, that's so well
makes
said.
It makes life a whole lot easier if you buy right.
Yeah, but get the right genetics and parents and grandparents and great grandparents.
Yes.
Keep going further.
But you got to understand what you want. And that's the tricky part. You got to avoid, and I'm guilty of it. I've bought dogs, where I was just like, oh, got to have one of those. Yeah. And in hindsight, it was like, oh, maybe not.
Yeah. Because you're at a point now, like the kind of hunting you do, your what your goals are, what you're going to be doing. So you're pretty lasered in. Someone who's just starting out, like, it's a whole like, okay, am I going to hunt pheasants? Am I going to hunt preserve birds? Am I going to hunt? Like you got to kind of figure out like what's your passion and the terrain and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Back up to the drop. I was very fascinated with this thing. So were you? So you said she didn't point. Female, male.
He's a male.
Male. So he didn't. Were you nervous at all? Like, did you ever think, okay, we're going to move on with this dog?
No, because that's not, it's not that he wasn't finding birds, and it wasn't that he wasn't, running. It was just, it was one of those things that, I see certain things that I'm looking for in a dog. And I also was familiar with, his, I know exactly who his mom was. I know exactly who his dad was.
Sure.
It's all of them were great bird dogs. I didn't get him from Dr. Rollins. I got him from a friend of Dr. Rollins's. Okay. And, and I wasn't, I've hunted with his dogs, and I was like, well, he's not pointing yet. And they were like, yeah, it's normal. So
it's kind of like expected.
Yeah. So, I mean, but once again, I think that this comes back to good breeders.
Sure.
You need a breeder that you can call and say, okay, this is going on.
Yeah.
Is this normal? If you're not familiar with,
Sure.
So,
and then kind of last thing on the drop. This is an intentional breeding, right? This wasn't an accidental.
Yes, this is not
okay.
Yes, and it's not a doodle or a it's not one of those things. Yeah, nobody's trying
not get crazy. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's just a and I'm not even sure how they got started on it.
Sure.
But it's one of those things that and like his dad's full blooded. He's a son of Shadow Oak Bow.
Oh wow!
So his daddy's a big time bird dog.
Yeah,
but it's just one of those.
That's crazy. You'll have to send me a picture. I'll look.
He's all over our website.
Okay, I'll take a look.
You have an enormous amount of folks that if you're not planning on, and I'm all for it, but if you're not, I did not buy him with any intentions of breeding, with any intentions of anything along those lines. So I bought him because I bought him because it was I was harassed into it by pressured. Yes, I was pressured into it. I was like, fine, I'll take one.
Yeah,
and so and he's a really nice dog.
And then so you don't have any more Brittany's right now. Currently, you just have the pointers.
No,
and then that
my last one passed away this summer.
Oh, I think I saw that.
14,
okay.
I want to say somewhere in that neighborhood. Okay. Yeah. And so she, and I don't know if I'll, I'm trying to have less dogs right now.
Okay.
I went through a run where I had about 16 on my working string, and that was not, I figured out pretty fast. Well, it's tricky. The biggest problem with having that many dogs is even as much as I hunt, I had dogs that weren't getting enough ground time.
Really?
Yeah. And there was a period after my father passed away that I hunted by myself for a long time. And so I had to have a certain number of dogs. And, one thing that especially a lot of the places that, we always have somebody that's getting, it's a dangerous profession. So, so you need a couple of extras because somebody's going to get sidelined.
Sure.
And, so to have 10 or 12
kind of a sweet spot.
Seemed kind of reasonable.
Okay.
But I'm at 8 right now, and I'm thinking I might want to go to 6.
Okay. Wow.
And so
cutting way back for you.
Yeah, we'll see. I've had some really nice German short hairs. It's funny. Like I said, I'm an English pointer guy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I am. And I find that people tend to be that.
You can't find your breed.
You don't find a lot of folks that are like, well, I've got one of these and one of these and one of these and one of these and one of these. You don't find a lot of guys that've got, a pointer and a setter and a Brittany and a short hair and a Drother.
But it sounds like you went through quite a few breeds actually, though. So
I have had, I've had, let's see, it was Brittany's, pointers, short hair, setter. I think that's everything that I've had. And then I have Labradors. I really want to get one of these little Flushing cockers.
Cocker craze.
I keep seeing,
cocker craze, man.
Seeing them.
It's taking over the nation.
Want one. Yeah. But
I cannot do a podcast episode without talking about a cocker. It comes up in every single episode.
They're just they have everything I just like everything about them. So we'll see. I have never really had, I hunted pheasants some. My labs have always enjoyed pheasant hunting. So, I've done that, but
nice.
I've never had a strictly Flushing.
Okay.
I've never had what I think of as a Flushing dog.
Yeah. That's cool. You got the right dogs for the job. You got your labs for your pheasant hunting. You got your big running pointers for the open prairie. That's good.
Now I like pheasant hunting with a pointer. That is, I tend to only put one dog on the ground when I'm doing it.
Okay.
Because the problem, to me, I find that my dogs tend to push each other. And so
one's a little bit more controlled.
Yeah, one dog on the ground, but if I'm trying to kill pheasants, that's how we do it.
Sure. If you're like, hey, we want to go bag some birds.
Yeah. If I'm just playing, then it's no big deal. But if I'm trying to shoot birds.
So I was going to ask you. So when you had, let's say, up to 17 dogs before 10, whatever it is, were you running 2, 3 at a time, or were you running?
Typically, I'm gonna two or three is going to be my 3. It can get a little chaotic, especially if you're by yourself.
Sure.
And you're running. But I'll do that.
Okay.
I'll run 3 if I'm by myself.
Okay.
It depends. I have a few guys that I hunt with now. And so, so it just kind of depends on where we are and what we're doing.
Yeah. Okay. I appreciate you sharing your dog number. I was talking with Ronnie Smith and Susanna Love a couple weeks ago, or a couple months ago.
Yes.
And I was like, Susanna, how many dogs do you have? And she's like, you never asked that. And I'm so curious.
That's always a bone of contention.
Yes. My
dogs, Susanna and I, Ronnie harasses us because we are. Susanna's an actual breeder. I'm just a guy that will find dogs and go, ooh, we should try this.
Let's do it.
Yeah. And she and I, let's see, 1, 2, 3. I guess 3 of my string right now come out of some dogs that she and I.
Oh, really?
Have messed with for a while.
Cool.
I had a really nice dog that was out of El Hughes Chaparral.
Oh, wow.
And he was a nice dog.
Wow.
And we've got a couple of, and my number 1 dog right now is a grandson of his.
Oh, geez. Well, all right. So Steve, I'm going to ask you this because you seem like you're again big on genetics, big on you know some bloodlines. Like, what makes a nice dog to you? Like you, Steve Snell. Like, what are you looking at that you say that's a great dog?
I like a dog that covers the country pretty hard. So I'm primarily walking when I hunt. I don't like to hunt out of a vehicle. I have hunted on horseback. I'm just not a very good horseman. And so I've kind of given up on that. And I don't like hunting I've hunted out of Jeeps, and I've hunted out of dune buggies, and I've hunted out of, mules. And
is that where once the dog goes on point, you drive up to it, get out?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And it's
just not for you.
No. I like to walk.
Sure.
And so I like a horseback shooting dog, but I work him off foot. if somebody if you wanted to kind of get it, So I like a dog that is going to make a 200 or 300 yard cast.
Okay.
If he gets out past about 400, 450, he better either be on point or starting to work his way back toward me.
Okay.
And that can be, and I like a dog that will scale down from that. I hunt some in Mississippi, and that's really big for here. So so much of it depends on where you hunt.
Sure.
Some people talk about, 100 yards can be big if you're, depends on where you are.
Yeah, small. Yeah. There's small fields. Or
Yeah.
small
But in
corners.
Montana, man,
that's nothing.
Yeah. So it just kind of depends, but I like a dog that'll go to him.
Yeah.
I tend to, the older I get, the smaller I like my dogs to be.
Okay.
My number one dog right now is about 60 pounds, and I sure wish he was about 45.
Just a little easier to manage.
Yeah. So I'm kind of thinking about that, but I
Sure.
have this thing for, 55, 60 pound, male pointers.
Yeah.
There's a certain look there that you can't get anywhere
No,
else.
they're classy.
Yeah.
They're classy dogs. That's cool, man. That's cool.
So that, it just depends. I don't like, I tend to have dogs that come out of like I said, shooting dogs are really what I like.
Okay.
That's typically
shooting dogs. Is that the bigger ranging?
That is a step. No, that is a step down. All age dogs. Yeah.
Big boys.
And yeah, those are the big boys. And I typically most all age dogs are going to run too big for me.
Okay.
But
you're not afraid to walk either, though. Like again, you have the dog that, booming out there 200-300 yards. I mean, you're like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
As long as you're on point.
I have some people that do not like to go with me anymore. Apparently I walk a lot. So
you have to, man. That's how you find the birds.
Yeah.
You're not going to find the birds, getting out of the truck. What's the fun in that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a fan.
Oh man. So. I put a story on my Instagram the other day. We got back, I was bluegrass hunting in the mountains. And
nice.
We got back to the truck. It was right after I missed a shot over my young female, and got back to the truck. She got water. I got water. I'm ready to head home. The storm rolling in. And next thing, I'm like, where the hell is Wynn right now? She's like 200 yards away, 300 yards away, 400 yards. I'm like, what the are you doing right now? She got a second burst. And then I'm like, I'm not. She was like down in this valley and trees. I'm like, I'm not going to walk and find you right now. So eventually she came back. But
sure. Yeah. Yeah. GPS is nice.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. If you didn't have that, man, she was gone 10 minutes, but I knew where she was the whole time.
Now, all right, when did you start? How old are you? I don't know. How you're like mid 30s?
Yeah. I mean, I'm 32.
Yeah.
I started hunting.
Okay.
6 years ago, something like that.
Okay. All right. So you don't know anything.
No. I don't know anything, But again, the first couple or the first season, going into my first season, I never thought about GPS. I never knew about GPS. It wasn't until my mentor, he's like, hey, you might want to think about getting a GPS. Like dogs running big, things happen. I was like, wait, what? I was like, wait, the price, but I bit the bullet and, and did it. Best decision.
Yeah. So, I was talking about great dogs and the first pointer that I had, she was not the reason that we started getting it. We actually, so I started using telemetry collars in 98.
Telemetry? What the?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, man. We're talking like rotary phones or?
No, but it's close. It's close. It's what they do. It's what they do wildlife tracking with.
Oh, okay.
And so some people call them beep collars. They're not beepers, but basically it's a
same concept.
It's a whole different world. But it's basically I'm not even going into it. Nobody would use it. It's very rare. But the thing is that like the first pointer that I had, her name was M, and the first year that we had her, my father hated her. I'm not sure if he ever liked her. But she found a lot of birds, but then she would disappear and she'd be gone. And his assumption was that she was running deer, which is not an uncommon assumption. But because she'd be gone for these long stretches of time. And we lost a dog earlier. We actually lost little Brittany. And after that fiasco, we finally found her about 4 days later, and we were 800 miles from home.
Oh.
After that, my father was like, you go find us something to track these dogs with. And so Tracker Radio was the bird dog.
Can you remind me real quick, what time period is this?
This is 1998.
Okay. Late 90s.
So it's been a while. When we started using telemetry, it had a motion sensor on it, just like GPS does. And so you could tell if a dog was running or if he was on point.
Wow.
And it didn't have the kind of information that you have from GPS in that you would use it beeps and you move and it beeps and you move and then it beeps stronger this way or stronger this way. And then you go, okay, he's over here. And then based on, how much gain it's taken to get that signal, he's this far away from you. Yes. It's nothing like GPS. But at the time, they were great. And we figured out pretty fast that this dog was on point all the time.
Really?
Yeah, because I could tell. Because I could tell with the so it's one of those things that you learn a lot about a big running dog. I can do an enormous amount of evaluation of a dog that I can't see with GPS because I can look at how they're running and I can look at how far away they are and how they're covering the ground. And there's just a lot of evaluation that you can do with the GPS.
Wow, that's fascinating. Telemetry.
Yeah, it's cool stuff.
We need to do a whole nother nerdy podcast on that.
I wrote I wrote an article not too long ago because there are no bird dogs that are alive right now that were alive prior to GPS.
Oh wow.
Okay, so GPS has been out about 15 years, and maybe there are some, but they're not real active.
Yeah.
But I don't have a single dog that has ever run, without GPS on them.
Wow. And
it's changed some stuff. It's changed. Not only has it changed how we hunt, but I believe it's changed the dogs, at least from a standpoint of my dogs know when they go on point, I'm coming to them because I've never not.
Sure.
And that was not true, because 20 years ago.
Back in the day, I mean, they may be on point and you're like, well, I'm not walking to go find them.
No, it's got nothing to do with I'm not walking to find them. It's I can't find them.
Sure.
Because, I grew up hunting with bells. And that was a tricky thing. You kind of had to keep up with, okay, where was the last place you heard them?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then beepers were a nightmare, but yeah, they're terrible.
Why do you hate beepers so bad?
Because it's like a garbage truck backing up, and I understand that some people use them, and I do not grouse hunt, rough grouse.
Sure.
I don't do that.
Sure.
And so I've never had the opportunity. Well, that's not true. I've had the opportunity. I've just never done it.
Okay.
And I'm not opposed to it. It's great. I know everybody loves it. I just,
just waiting for the people. They're going to write in. I'm
going to hear about it. Yes. No, I like open.
Yeah. You like to be able to see your dogs.
If I never saw another tree in my life, I would be a happy man. So I want to be able to see that dog at 400 or 500 yards.
Yeah.
But and so beepers are actually handy. I think a lot of the folks that
in the thick woods
beepers, they want it the thick where you can where you can't see them, and they don't want to be looking at a GPS because they're having to fight to get to where they are.
Sure.
But I'm sorry, but beepers are still horrible.
Sure.
They're just,
still sounds like a garbage truck.
It's terrible. But from a technology standpoint, it's inexpensive,
sure.
and it does a job at least up to a certain point.
Yeah.
But there were times where you would just lose a dog.
Yeah.
And no idea where he is, and he's on point. He's on point. You just can't find it.
Yeah. And so, if an hour goes by or I don't know how long it would be. Dog's going to give up.
It just depends. Yeah. At some point, something's going to happen. Either he's going to break or the birds are going to go,
Yeah.
But nowadays, and like I said, I don't know. I'm a little fascinated by it.
Yeah.
Just from the standpoint of, my dogs, I have an 8-year-old right now who I have never not, gotten to him when he was on point. He just doesn't know any different,
Yeah.
So,
it builds that confidence and trust.
Yeah, it's a whole different, it's a thing. So I don't know.
That's cool.
It's fascinating to me.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're always running your dogs with GPS. Like they're on the ground. They got GPS on.
Not only do my dogs have GPS on the ground when they run, but if you show up to hunt with me and you don't have GPS, you have a choice. We can either not run your dogs, or you can borrow one of my GPS collars.
Oh, I love it.
Okay,
that's a good rule.
And if you refuse, which I'm okay with that, it's your right to refuse.
Sure.
We're not going together. Okay, it's just that simple. And here's the deal. Okay, I have an extra GPS collar, and I'm more than willing for you to put it on your dog. You don't have to, if you're anti-stim or any of that, you don't have to do that. I just want the GPS. If you don't even want to track him, that's fine. Okay. I don't care. But at the end of the day, if he's missing, I am morally obligated to help you find that dog.
100%.
Okay. I can't leave until we find that dog.
Yep.
And I'm not going to do something stupid like not put a GPS collar on the dog, And for the people that go, my dogs, I've never, my dogs don't ever get out of my sight. Okay. All right. Well, that Brittany, that the reason we got into telemetry, she never got more than 30 yards away from me.
Yep.
Her entire life. She was the perfect dead bird dog.
Yep.
She hunted in Texas for 8 years. She found one covey of birds in the entire 8 years. And the only reason she didn't find them is because the other dogs were getting to them before where she was. But if there was a dead bird on the ground, Maggie was going to find it.
Sure.
And you didn't stand a chance. And I even took Maggie back the next day sometimes if we didn't find a bird. She'd find it. If it was on the ground, if Maggie couldn't find it, it wasn't on the ground. You didn't hit it.
Yeah.
And so, she got lost because we had a big running dog that was on point. We were going to the big running dog, and Maggie picked up on something and went the other way. And she had a beeper on.
Happens.
But we, and we looked up 30 minutes later, and she was gone.
Yeah.
And we found her 4 days later. Now we got lucky. Somebody else found her.
Sure.
And they called this was back. She was probably before cell phones.
Yeah.
Or at least they weren't that common. But
Jeez.
Yeah,
that's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah,
Throw an extra collar. Well, because then again, I'm just thinking practically too. Then the dog gets lost. Hunting's over for that day until you find that dog.
Exactly.
It's
I'm just not doing it. I'm not doing it.
I might have told this on the podcast before. So my mentor, same guy who told me about the GPS collar. He told me he had a dog. 300-400 yards out. Dog's not coming back. So where's this dog? So he's like waiting half hour. Sorry, no dog. Mm-hmm. So he has the GPS on him, and he goes out in this field area looking for the dog, and says the dog's 10 feet away. He's like, "What the hell? Like, I don't see the dog. There's nowhere." He's starting to get nervous.
I know this story.
And dog's in a hole.
Yep.
Not that far from him, and it was kind of covered up and hard to get to. And he's like, "If I would not have had a collar on her or collar on that dog, he's like, I would not have found her. It was an 8-foot hole." And she was down there, and shit happens like that. Like it's going to happen.
Yeah. And I had a dog. Oh, this is 2 or 3 years ago. That experienced dog, and she got down into a canyon, and I don't know what happened. She got around a corner or something, and she couldn't see anything anymore, and she just stopped. And it was one of those things where I'm up at the top. And I know I can't see her, but I know I'm standing right on top of her. And I ended up having to go all the way down and come up the canyon, to get to her. She wouldn't move. I had to go in and get her.
Oh, geez.
And I don't know what happened. She just got freaked out.
Oh, geez.
So there's a lot of reasons. I mean, I'm fine with if people don't want to use them or they don't feel like they need them. I understand that's your prerogative.
Totally.
I'm fine with it, but I'm not doing it.
Totally.
And I'll keep doing it until there's until there's something better.
Yeah. The microchips inserted into the dogs or something.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't even know if that's better or not, but
we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. Somebody's working on it.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll circle back to some e-collar stuff here and tracking stuff in a second. But I kind of want to back up to Gun Dog Supply a little bit and kind of want to just why? Like, why Gun Dog Supply? How'd you start this company? Give us a little story about.
I didn't start it. It was started in 1972 by my parents.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah. So, my dad, it's a quick version. My dad and his brother had a feed store in Jackson, Mississippi. And my dad was looking for some other stuff to sell and was disappointed in the quality of some of the stuff that was on the market. And so started manufacturing their own stuff, started making collars and leashes and stuff. And over time, it did some mail order stuff. This is in the early 70s, which mail order back then was actually mail order. I remember going with my mom
to the post office.
Yeah. Yes, and you would go and you would pick up, and there would be orders and checks, and you would fill them. And
wait a second, what kind of time period was this?
It was a little different world. It was never a big business, but it was something that they really enjoyed. And eventually they had people starting to want to come to their showroom. Well, they didn't have a showroom. They had a warehouse. And at a certain point, my father was like, well, maybe we should build a showroom. So they built a showroom, and then he started selling dog food. And very quickly it turned into it was more of a dog food business than anything else. And they did that for a long time and sold a lot of dog food. And that was, I was high school, college. And in the mid 90s, we had a PetSmart move in not too far from us. And it was challenging to compete with them. Not, not impossible, but it was more challenging than it probably should have been. And at that time it was around the time that we'd started hunting, and my dad just kind of had a feel for how many more, bird hunters there still were. So we had, we'd still done it, but we'd kind of gotten out of it.
Sure.
And so we got back into mail order probably 95, somewhere in that neighborhood. And my brother and I were not involved with the company at that time.
Okay.
We worked there when we were teenagers, but he and I were doing our own thing. We had a couple of companies. And, but in 97, Rob started playing with the internet. And he put one of our businesses online and did pretty well. It started getting some buzz, and my mom was like, "Okay, this is what we need to do. We need to do this." And so at that time, we started. Actually, I think we put a catalog request thing online for them before we did anything, and we got so many catalog requests that my dad was like, "Either put it online where we can sell it, or cut it off." Because catalogs are expensive.
Sure.
And so we started selling stuff online. And it took off. I mean, this is 97.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So early 97, which was, for those of us that are old, the internet was very small at that time.
Sure.
And it took off. And by late 98, it got out of hand to the point that I had to come. Yeah, I had to come in and help.
Wow.
And my brother, Rob's the internet guy, and he was doing that part of it. And I was looking for something new to do and was just blown away by how fast and big it had become.
Yeah.
And so I came back to it in 98 and haven't really done much else since.
Wow.
And I've been doing that since 98.
That's cool, man. Wow.
Yeah.
That is cool. That's crazy to think about, like late 90s. People were able to sell stuff on the internet then. To me, that seems like, I don't know. To me, the internet didn't come to like 2000 or early 2000.
And it's really not that.
Concept.
It's not that different. You had to have a little different. It's funny. Because people are so used to high speed now that they forget. What we had back then, and we get accused sometimes of not having a state of the art website, and a lot of that comes from the fact that, I live out in the country. I just got high speed in the last 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah. But I live out in the country, but so do a lot of my customers, and if you've never had the joy of, trying to use a satellite, Wi-Fi, or, satellite internet was terrible, and now, it's getting a lot better. But we tend to try to build fast websites.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, from my perspective, I live in the suburbs of Denver, and I kind of like the website because it's kind of old school, kind of like this retro brings me back. I'm like, I'm on the Gundog Supply website.
It's not retro. It's just always been this way. Yeah,
that's your intention, right? That's your intention.
Exactly. No.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So you've been running this now since, again, 98, 99. What have been some of maybe the challenges that you've faced over the last 20 years of running this company and building it?
We have existed. We're still a relatively small company, compared to, a lot of people that we compete with. Our two biggest competitors right now are Amazon and Chewy. To give you an idea, when I look at who my major competition is, it's them. Yeah. At least for some of the stuff that we sell. And so, that's a challenging sort of thing, when you're dealing with companies that, first off, don't have to make a profit and will tell you right up front that they don't have to make a profit. That's nice. We don't have that as an option. That's not something that, but, it's tricky. You can't sell stuff for more than they're selling it for. And you've got to ship as fast as they do it. You've got to, that to me is a good thing. I like, strong competitors. And then we have some folks that, I don't know if they're our size or smaller, but they're able to do some stuff, that we try to do and have to stay on top of, because, you don't want to be so big that, that you can't get, it's not as easy nowadays, but you still get me on the phone if you need to, And so, so there's this balance between being big and fast and technology and having all this stuff and still being, the roots of our company, which are customer service and product knowledge.
Yeah.
And so that's a challenge. The last 3 years have been, a little bizarre.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
That's probably a whole nother conversation, but just have you been hit pretty hard with supply and all that kind of stuff too? That's been the
biggest problem over the last, and it's a lot better now than it was 6 months or a year ago. Fourth quarter last year was very challenging, because we just, we had what we had and we couldn't get anything else.
Sure.
So, but right now, most of that's kind of cleared off. Stuff's still, expensive. Overseas shipping is still crazy high, so yeah.
That's so tough.
But that's just part of it. If you're wanting to get stuff for Christmas, don't wait.
Yeah, don't. Good reminder. Good reminder.
Don't wait.
When did you start doing some of these longer form like videos up on your website? Those have been really helpful on some gear.
I don't know when we started. My father was not a gigantic fan of giving his opinion on products. That was not something that he did. I never really discussed it with him. I don't know why. He would write his product descriptions and he didn't mind talking to you about it. If you emailed him, he would talk to you about it. And for a long time, he did, he handled the majority of our email correspondence. But we were looking for something to make us different from everybody else and pick on Amazon. Amazon doesn't talk about the products that they sell. The customers that buy the products that Amazon sells talk about the products that Amazon sells.
Sure.
That's how, if you need information off of an Amazon website, typically you go to the reviews because that's all that's there.
Yeah.
And so we kind of figured out that was sort of the trick. And so we started, we just started doing that and we switched to video. We've probably been doing video heavy for 7 or 8 years.
Okay.
Maybe. And it was one of those things where it started kind of small and then it started to build and it started to build and started to build. And it was one of those things that it's crazy, but I can do a 30-minute video on a product and people watch the whole thing.
Yeah. Oh, right here, man. Right here.
Yeah. And so we try to keep it, we try to break it up now where we have like the first, 2 to 5 minutes is going to cover the majority of the stuff that you need to know. And if you want to watch everything, great. I'll ramble on about it and, I don't mind talking about it.
Yeah.
So
stuff like that. It's nice to, again, see someone that, again, kind of the face behind the company. You're selling lots of different brands and products. So to get your opinion on it has been helpful. Again, I'm speaking for myself because I've watched these videos and read these descriptions. It's nice just to be able to see and go, okay, the little nuances of the battery cover or the clip, quality, like those kind of details, you don't get a lot of other places. And so I've appreciated that.
It's been interesting because there's 3 or 4 folks out there that I watch where I'm just like, God, I wish I could do it like they do it, because there's some folks out there that are really good at it, and I'm still just kind of winging it. But
sometimes that's the best way.
Yeah. But, I've always been, one of, you're talking about stuff that you remember as a kid. And I remember my dad, taking care of his boots and getting the gear and the processing of the gear and having everything together for a big trip. That's a thing.
Yeah. It's a thing in my house.
Yeah.
Laying everything out in the garage the night before, making sure you got everything, taking care of it. And it's part of the experience, I feel.
Yeah. And then you want it to be where the gear doesn't interfere with the experience.
Sure.
And so
where it's that broke or that didn't work.
Yeah.
Exactly. What I guess what are some of the I don't know biggest sellers or things that are most popular on the website that are moving?
Well, for us, it's always it's electronics. I mean, as far as the stuff that we sell the majority of, and it's GPS stuff.
Okay.
It is amazing to me how much the number of GPS systems that are out there and that people keep
going back for.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
I remember going to the first time I saw a Garmin unit, and I don't think they had no idea. They had no idea that it was going to be. It was just
this popular.
No idea.
Yeah. What what Garmin units are you running? So I know you mentioned earlier you used to run the minis, right? And now you switched over.
So I've run a lot of different stuff. I was not a big fan of the Alpha 100. And so I ran an Astro 430 and a Pro 550 was the combination that I was running. And I was running minis at that time because you could put the PT10 collar and the mini collar on the same strap. So,
okay.
So I was doing that, but that was prior to the Pro 550 coming out. Okay. And I was involved a pretty heavy chunk with the development of that.
Oh, cool.
And it was a fun product to do. But so I run a 550 plus, but I still like to have the mapping, option. So sure. I run a 200i, also, and you can run them, same collar, same setup. So, I've got,
you're running both, you have both handhelds?
I'm running
units?
Both handhelds.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is an expensive way to go. And it's not typically what I recommend for folks.
Sure.
So it is one of those things where it just kind of depends, but
you like the buttons of the 550 plus and
I do I want, a lot of folks will be like, well, I hunt with this and I train with this. Well, the 550 plus you can do both with, and if you said to me, okay, you can only have one, then that's one I'm going to take.
Yeah.
But I do like to use the mapping and I like having the in-reach. It's not as bad as it used to be, but I end up in some places that, that I don't have reliable cell service. Sure. And I'm by myself and, just having the ability to communicate, is a big deal.
Yeah.
And so, and I recommend it, it's one of those things too, that it just makes my wife feel better, because
totally.
she'd have no idea.
Yeah.
And some mornings, especially when I'm by myself, I'll be like, well, I'm going to hunt here. Maybe I'm going to hunt here.
Yeah, it switches. Your plans change.
Yeah. But even if I told her, she'd have no idea where to start looking.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, when I get to a spot, I press a button and it sends her a thing that says, this is where I am.
Yeah.
And if, and at least that tells them where to start.
Sure.
I typically don't run the tracking feed. You can run it where it tracks and it pings every 10 seconds or that. I typically don't do that. Yeah. But if something were to happen to me and I didn't have the ability to, they'd at least know where to start looking.
Totally. No, that's super smart.
Yeah.
I mean, I was using that early season hunt this year. My wife she was due early September. I was going to hunt a couple days later.
Yeah.
So, got the subscription going. And again, just gave us all peace of mind of like, she could text me whenever, just be able to get a hold of me somewhere quick. So that was a nice
it's neat.
Peace of mind.
Setup.
Yeah, it was.
And I like the fact that I don't have to have another piece of gear.
No, totally. It's just kind of like built in your dog collar, which you're already using. So that works out really well.
Yep.
Garmin Alpha 10. I don't know much about that thing. Do you want to, some people ask me sometimes, like, do you know about this? I'm like, I haven't used it. I haven't seen one in person.
So it's a good product. It's one of those things where it depends on what you want out of it as to whether or not, it fits. Garmin is really cool about developing stuff and trying stuff and going, and they'll say, you think this is a good idea? And we're like, well, maybe. I don't know. What does it do? Oh, okay. And I can sit there and go, okay, well, here's the niche for it. So the Alpha 10, it has a lot of the Alpha features in that it'll track, 20 dogs. You can also track the handheld. So if you had an Alpha 10 and I had an Alpha 10, I can track you and you can track me. I can communicate with you through the Alpha 10. We can send messages back and forth. It will track, up to 20 dogs. It also has, stimulation and tone and vibration.
So it's got all the features, really.
Oh yeah,
sounds like
it has all the features.
Yeah.
Now the downside of it is that it has one button, and that button controls whatever you have it set on. Sure. So say you've got dogs that are pretty well trained and you just tone them a bunch, set it on tone and you just, you tone them. And then if you need to make a correction, it's not a very good e-collar. Okay. It's just not, because, a good e-collar allows you to, raise and lower stimulation quickly without having to spend a lot of time thinking about it.
Sure.
Okay. Because if you've got a situation where you need to make a correction, dog jumps a deer and you want to correct him immediately, you need to be able to go, oh, I'm on a 3, I need to go to a 10.
It's just too cumbersome.
Yeah. And I don't need to have to think about it. I don't have to need to look at a screen and toggle through 3 or 4 things. So, if you say to me, well, I need an e-collar that does blah, 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 I'm going to be like, okay, we're not even going to talk about this.
Yeah.
Because it's just not that. Now, it's great. And this is really where it was designed. If you run one of their drive track units, you have to have a tracking unit for that drive track. And that's the GPS that goes in the vehicle.
Sure. Okay.
Now, not really a bird dog thing. This is more of a hound type product. Yeah. But that was kind of the idea behind it is that the problem is if you don't have a unit that goes with your drive track, then you have to unhook it from the long range antenna when you get out of the truck to go find your dogs. Well, that's pain. So people wanted to have a unit that was dedicated to, having their. They wanted one that was dedicated to the drive track.
Gotcha. Okay. So
that was kind of where the original idea came behind it. Then the other side of it was okay, I hunt with my elderly father, or I hunt with my young child, or my wife, or whoever, and you want to be able to keep up with them in case you're going to get separated from everybody. So you get this small unit,
something they carry.
Yeah, they carry. They can see where the dogs are. If a dog goes on point, they're going to know it too.
Gotcha.
But if something were to happen, I could track them. And it's sold. I'd say it's probably sold better than I thought it was going to.
Okay.
But it's a very specific
niche kind of thing.
Yeah, people like the size of it.
Sure.
And so, but it just depends. If you're looking for something, I would have probably preferred that they left the e-collar functionality off of it
and almost made like an Astro kind of thing.
Well, yeah, it's just one of those things where you just have to be real specific with people and go, okay. If you want it to do this and this and this, it's just not going to do it.
Sure. Get the plus or something else is going to.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things where it depends. And that's generally one of the biggest things that we do is you come to us and you say, well, I'm thinking about this. And I'm like, okay, what do you do? Okay, what do you do? You do this. How many dogs are you running? What are you looking for? You looking for more of an e-collar? You looking for a tracking system? What do you want?
Sure.
And you tell me what you want, and then I'll tell you what's out there.
Yeah, exactly. You tell me what you're doing. I'll tell you what you need.
Yeah.
What do you think has made the Pro 550 Plus so popular and just such a good unit overall?
Well, it's a bird dog unit. I mean, that's what it was designed for. And when people ask me about the 550 Plus, the 550 Plus is an e-collar that has some GPS capabilities. Okay. Where the Pro 200, God, I'm dating myself. The Alpha 200 is a GPS system that has e-collar functionality.
Okay.
And so, so that's really how I break it down for folks.
Sure.
Where it's like, okay, what do you want?
Yeah.
What exactly, once again, what do you want? Now we have some new options nowadays where like Garmin has, what's it called? Garmin Explorer.
Yeah.
Which is an app. Yeah. The app, and it works with pretty much all the systems now, I believe. So if you have a 550 Plus and you want mapping and that kind of stuff, you just get the app and you sync it up with your handheld, and now you've got that. It's still not quite where I want it. It's not as good as it should be. Garmin is not. They struggle with apps. That's not their strong suit.
Yeah.
They're a hardware company, and so they struggle with apps.
Sure.
And so I would like for it, and I feel like it'll be better over time, but it's okay. It doesn't cost anything. So.
Sure. It's a free app download. It works. Bluetooth.
Yeah. But so, and then there's some new stuff. We just found out that the iPhone 14 is going to have satellite communication stuff. If you've seen that.
Yeah.
So that's one of those things where I'm like, okay, well, that's going to hurt inReach. So
sure.
Well, because if you have an it's one of those things where you're thinking about an inReach, or you need a new phone.
If the iPhone has that.
I don't know a whole lot about it. I know it's real limited as far as what it can do.
Yeah.
As far as communication, but I think it's going to strictly be preset messages and
not But I don't think they rolled out.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And that's a big deal.
Totally.
Now at some point they're going to have to start charging for it, or they're going to have something.
Right.
Maybe. But it's kind of a cool. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I haven't seen much about it, but I'm fascinated by it. I want to see what they're doing.
That's cool. A couple more things, if you don't mind, if you're good on time.
I'm good.
Awesome. Okay, last thing on Garmin. Again, I'm not trying to make this a Garmin infomercial, but they make great products.
I'm a Garmin guy,
and I trust your opinion. So, talk about the mini collar, the regular, and now the X.
Okay. So,
what's your thoughts on all those?
Okay, so right now we really only have minis and X's. There may be a few regular collars that are still out there, but they have stopped production on those. So nothing wrong with them. They actually, I think I don't know if it was accidental or not. They figured out a way to get more battery life out of the system that they had now. That's what the X, and that's the difference in the X.
And the X is the same size as the regular, right?
It's exact same size. It looks just like I said, if you've got one of them side by side, you can't tell the difference.
So they cracked the code on smashing a bigger battery.
Yeah, okay. And they changed, and it's actually on the board. It's not a different battery, but it's my engineering degree is still over at Mississippi State, so
they haven't sent that over yet.
It just works. So the biggest difference, all right, so the difference in the Mini is size. Okay, sure. The Mini is, it's the same size as the PT10, which is the 550,
sure.
Collar. If you're familiar with those, it's the exact same, case. It was originally designed for smaller rabbit dogs. We were having trouble with the little bitty rabbit dogs, on those. But the Minis have been real popular with the bird dog crowd. I typically use 40 pounds as the, if your dog is 40 pounds or under, you might want to look at a Mini. If they're 40 pounds and up, I would not look at a Mini. Now, we have this fallacy among people that dogs can't handle the weight, which is hilarious. I have never seen a dog.
You mean a small dog taking on a larger collar? Yeah.
The biggest problem that you'll run into is that the big collars, the neck size, it'll only go down so small.
Can't cinch it down, tight enough.
You can't cinch it down tight enough because of the gap in there. Now, there's a trick. If you take your buckle off, you take your collar strap off, and you loop it through the other way, you can actually get it down smaller.
Wait, hold on. Say what?
Okay, so normally you feed the collar strap through.
Kind of how it comes.
Yeah, it'll come out of the box this way, where the collar strap is. So here's the box, and the collar strap's on the left side, and the light's facing you, and then the GPS. You have the black plastic piece and the GPS antenna, and then the RF antenna that goes up that side. All right, so if you feed your collar strap in through here, and then so the collar strap is going to be close to the buckle would be closest to the box. Okay, that's the best way to do it when you have it cinched down.
Okay.
Well, that'll only get so small.
Yeah.
Well, if you pull your collar strap out and you take your collar strap and you start it
just
in
run it
on
the
the
opposite
GPS antenna and go the other way,
oh my gosh,
you can actually shave about, I think it's about 2.5 inches, something like that, off of it.
Steve, you just made my day.
So now, a lot of people are under the impression that their smaller bird dog, let's say 25 pounds, just can't handle that big collar, which I'm sorry, but they can. Okay, they can. But here's the thing. Yes, on a 2.5 second update rate, you're going to get 17 to 20 hours of runtime off of a Mini, which is perfect for that's a day's hunt.
Sure.
And you charge it that night. Okay, and let me tell you, if you're hunting today and you're going to hunt tomorrow and you don't charge your collars, you're making a mistake.
Sure.
Okay. And I don't care how long you ran today.
Always charge
if you turn that collar on today and you ran for an hour, okay, yeah, sure, you don't have to charge it, but you're going to regret it at some point, because at some point that dog's going to get lost. He's going to get on the other side of something and you can't get to him.
Yeah.
And you've got to drive 30 miles to get around, to pick this dog up. And now you are against the clock.
Sure.
Because you ran your collar for 8 hours yesterday and you didn't charge it tonight. And so now we've got 12 hours, and we started early this morning and we went all day and it was a great day. And at 5 o'clock, my dog decided to cross this canyon, and now, I can't get to him, and he swam across something or whatever, and the sun's going down.
Sure.
And my collar that should have, because I didn't charge it last night, I ran 8 hours yesterday or 5 hours yesterday, and I ran 12 hours today. I got to go get him right now.
Sure.
And it won't be long, and that collar is going to be dead. And there's few things more worthless than a dead GPS tracking.
Yeah, 100%.
So the beauty of the X is that we get about 80 hours of runtime.
Jeez.
It's
around there, right?
Let's say 60.
Sure.
you
Still,
can get
that's
from the same.
incredible.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So if you're one of those folks, now I'm going to charge my collars every night because I want all 60.
Yeah.
Okay. I want it all. The second I turn that
if it
dog
can do
out,
it, it's going to have it.
I want it all. So I charge my gear every night. Now, here's the part that people don't grasp when they're looking at that. You're going to have to charge your handheld anyway.
Sure.
Okay, because an alpha battery is not going to last if you're running it all day. You're going to have to charge it.
Oh, yeah. So if dog gets lost, yeah.
Yeah, it's not going to matter, okay? Because your collar battery will go longer than your handheld battery, no matter what. Both of them will do it. The Mini will last longer and the X will last substantially longer. But, a Plus, you're only going to get 12 or 15 hours out of a Plus handheld.
Sure.
And, you're going to get somewhere in that neighborhood out of a 200i handheld, maybe not even that much. So you got to charge it every night anyway. So charge your collars every night.
Yeah.
But the advantage of it is that if something happens, and people don't think about worst. I'm a worst case scenario kind of guy. That's my thing. I want to look at what's the worst possible thing that can happen. I had a dog once that crossed a fence and sliced open that vein on the front of his leg that your vet likes to draw blood out of. I don't know what it's called, but it's a big one. And he sliced it, right up. And the only reason that he's alive today is because I was within about, 50 feet of him and saw him curl up on the ground and start to bleed to death.
Sure.
And he's not alive today. This was a long time ago, but he lived about 7 or 8 more years after that. Now I had to drop everything that I owned and abandon 2 dogs, and I got him back to the truck. And fortunately, one of the dogs was a younger dog, and he kind of showed up, as I was bandaging up, throwing this dog in the truck and headed for the vet. The other dog stayed out for about 5 hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And when I finally got the dog settled and everything, it might not have been 5, maybe it was 3 or 4.
Sure, but still.
Yeah.
I mean, leaving and the dog had a collar on, right? That dog had to leave.
Yep. Okay. Sure did. Yep. Found her own point.
Yeah. Wow.
And it was actually that M dog that I was talking about earlier.
Oh, really?
She was on point. Yeah. And when I got to her and I flushed the bird, she turned around and looked at me like, "Where the hell have you been?" She's like, "I've been standing here for a long time.
I'm tired."
Yes. So okay. Man. So as far as collars go, your dog can handle it. And as far as I'm concerned, unless you have a little bitty dog, I would not buy a mini.
Sure.
Because I want
you want that extra range. Yeah. Well, I guess range.
Now, all right. So range is
different
one of these
question.
things. All right. So Garmin advertises that you're going to get 4 miles range out of the Mini, and you're going to get 9 miles range out of the X. That is
so subjective.
Man, I don't even know if that's a nice way of saying it. Okay. You will be hard pressed. Okay. With a regular handheld, you're not going to get that kind of range in any situation.
Okay.
Okay, fine. If you can find me a place that's line of sight 9 miles, maybe. Okay. But there aren't many places that are line of sight 9 miles. They're just not.
Yeah, hills, and trees, houses, roads.
And any of that stuff that's in the way, it's going to cut down on your range.
Okay.
Now, like the best I've ever gotten out of a collar, is about 7 miles, 6, 7.
Out of a regular size or X size?
That was out of a regular collar with an extended range antenna.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay. Now, a Mini, they listed as 4 miles. And same thing there. You're not going to get 4 miles with a regular setup. I have gotten 4+ miles out of a Mini, using an external antenna.
Okay.
But as far as I can tell, in my tests, the range is basically the same.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's just not. Now they've got some long range antennas, and
antennas that go on the handheld.
Yeah, no, they actually go on the collar.
Oh, okay.
You can get a longer collar antenna.
Oh,
but
gotcha.
It's still, the reality of it is that range is not the thing. It's battery life.
Okay.
And so, now the price went up $50. So you're looking at $350 now for a TT15X compared to $299.
Okay.
So it's $50 more.
Do you think they're looking into your crystal ball? Do you think there's any plans to do a Mini X someday where we get better battery life out of the minis?
Maybe.
Okay.
They're always the thing. Anytime I get that question, it's always the reality of it is yes. But it's eventually the question of, but Garmin's working on stuff all the time.
Sure.
They are that company. The thing that I love the most about Garmin is that we really don't have, Sport Dog has a couple of GPS things. Some of them are good. Some of them are okay. Dogtra has the Pathfinder, which has some cool things about it. But the reality of it is that Garmin controls this market.
Sure.
95% of the market they own.
Yeah.
With no real competition in sight.
Yeah.
And they still keep coming out with new cool stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. They're not slowing down.
Yeah. No.
And introduction of the watches, a couple years, several years ago, and how long that ago was. But
that was a big deal.
That's been slick.
And they're just that company. They will push themselves, when they don't necessarily. Now, some of that comes from the fact that they're in really big competitive markets elsewhere. They have competition that's just, so they don't really have a choice.
Sure. But
it sort of translates over into everything.
Yeah.
So
totally. That's awesome.
So yeah.
Very cool. Fan. Yeah. That's awesome. This is good. It's kind of nice to pick apart e-collars a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Tracking. Like I haven't done that really with anyone on this. Sure. So I think you were the guy to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very cool. Steve, last product question, if you don't mind. This doesn't have to be real long.
That's fine.
Dog boots. Can you just talk about the importance of dog boots, when to run them, when not to run them?
So I carry boots everywhere that I go. I don't like to boot dogs unless I have to, but I travel a good bit when I hunt, and you can ruin a hunt, if you don't have them. And there's lots of different ways to, there's some tricks to, you can boot some dogs out of some non-traditional stuff. And,
Sure.
But the thing about it is that the biggest thing that I run into is sand spurs, which I don't know where you said you run in Nebraska, so you know what sand spurs are.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Those are awful.
Yeah. And so the thing about sand spurs too is that they're unpredictable in that it's some sort of combination of drought or rainfall and the soil get disturbed, and and so the thing about sand spurs is that you can have a place that you hunt for years and never run into them, and then you come back next year and
they're there.
Everywhere. Yeah. And so most dogs, if they haven't grown up around them, they're just, I don't care how tough your dog is, if they're not used to sand spurs, it's going to shut them down. And so I carry boots strictly for that.
Okay.
Now, the other side of it too is that especially early season, I don't think I have anybody that's bad about it right now, but I had a dog that it didn't matter what you did. Every season, the first couple of hunts, he was going to blow a pad. It was guaranteed. And it would get to the point where it was a problem for him. Besides the fact that he just didn't like for him, he was just one of those knucklehead. He would hurt himself kind of dogs. But I could boot him after he blew a pad, and he'd be great.
Really?
Didn't seem to faze him. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's one of those things. So I carry boots everywhere, but I typically don't boot unless I have to.
Okay. And so will you pre-boot a dog if you're going on, say, a long multi-day hunt?
No.
Or you're going to do it kind of on the second half?
I'll do it if I find, if we start to have dogs that are having sore feet, then I might boot them, for that. I try to rotate my dogs enough, and I try to keep my dogs in good enough shape that typically doesn't happen.
Okay.
Now I don't hunt in a lot of crazy rocky stuff. Especially early season, because I don't like snakes. And so, so I don't know, if I was hunting Arizona all the time, I might boot more. If I was hunting Nevada,
more rocky,
maybe parts of Idaho, I might boot more often.
Okay.
But it just kind of depends.
Okay.
But I like to carry boots with me. Yeah. Now there's a couple of different, if you end up in a situation where you don't have boots, you can make boots out of duct tape. There's a couple of tutorials online on how to do them. It takes forever. So
I think I've watched one of those videos.
I'm not doing that. Boots are cheap.
Sure.
Some boots are cheap. And so we've got a Cordura boot that's, pretty tough. I don't know, $20 for a set.
Oh, wow.
So it's not big money. Yeah. But duct tape's your best friend when it comes to boots.
Are you running those Cordura ones or the Lewis boots still?
If I carry both, because it just depends. What I like about Cordura boots is if I'm somewhere and I'm not sure, I could throw 4 in the back of my vest and I can put them on the dog and I don't need any tape.
Okay.
So I like that. So if I'm going somewhere and it's questionable, then I'll do that. If push comes to shove, Lewis boots I think are the best boots that are on the market as far as from a bird dog standpoint. Now you have to know how to put them on. I've got a tutorial online. There's a lot of different ways
tape,
to do it.
Right?
Yeah, you need tape. There's a couple of different ways to do it, but duct tape's the best way to go. They don't, and that's one of those things people hate that, but
sure.
They're great boots.
Yeah. Okay. So. I have a pair, never used them.
Yeah.
Never used them. They sit in my truck just in case.
Yeah. And it is, and really that's it. It's one of those things where, unless what I would prefer people do is that they exercise their dogs enough and they keep their pads in good shape, and they only need boots when they run into sand spurs.
Sure.
That's what I would prefer. That's really the best way to go.
Yeah.
So,
cool. Awesome. Okay. Thank you for unpacking that. All right. We are going to wrap this thing up. I want to respect your time. I know we got we're a busy guy. So last thing I kind of like to end with every guest here is a piece of advice you would give to someone new to hunting. Someone maybe they just picked up their first bird dog. Maybe they're heading into their first season this fall even. What's a piece of advice you would give them?
All right. You want to do like a young dog?
It can be
sort of thing.
Sure, anything.
Let's do a young dog thing.
Okay.
Okay. So you have to make a decision. Are you killing? If you've got a young dog, you killing birds or are you educating this young dog? Okay. And I'm not going to say that one's right and one's wrong.
Sure.
Okay. Because that's a decision that you have to make. I would prefer to see people, with young dogs, especially, it's more about the dog for me. It's important to me that the dog get the exposure and the experience and, whether or not I can have a great day and I can never fire a shot.
Sure.
Or I can kill one bird and it be the best day of the year, because I gave that dog the opportunity to do what he needed to do. And sometimes that means letting birds fly, because things didn't go the way that they were supposed to go. And that's okay. I think that, I don't think that our current young crop of guys is as bad as my generation, at least from the standpoint that we like to stack them up. And there's still stacking up that goes on, and that's fine. I don't, as long as you're, ethical and doing what you're supposed to do, if that's what you want to do, that's fine.
Sure.
I have passed that where I'm, I don't have to harvest that many birds.
It's about the dog work for you.
Yeah. And it's not even, I like watching them fly, and I don't mind, and I don't have to, and once again, I'm all for it. If that's what you want to do. It's just, it's just what you enjoy. But the dog, it's tricky to kill birds and train dogs.
You got, you're kind of saying you got to pick your priority, right? At
least on the front end.
Sure.
If you have a young dog, you've got to make sure that the things go right. If you want certain things out of that dog, if you want certain things out of that dog. And like I said, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm not guilty of, shooting birds that I probably shouldn't have because the dog didn't do exactly what they were supposed to do. Yep. But it is one of those things that I try to do. And then the other thing is, and I won't, I get frustrated with some of the older guys that get mad at some of the younger guys or, like hot spotting and talking about that kind of stuff. You got to understand the power of the internet. But scouting is a big deal. I'm headed out tomorrow and I'm hunting ground that I have never hunted before, because I need something new. And so we're going to do something new, and might be good, might be horrible, but we're going to do something new. So you kind of gotta put your time in for that. And it is amazing the stuff that's available nowadays.
Sure.
And it's amazing too the number of people that'll help you. It's just,
you got to ask.
You got to be careful where you post stuff though. You can ruin something really fast. So there's a line in there, but but I really like. I mean, I'm a big fan of the young crowd.
That's cool.
I don't like, I haven't reached the codger age yet where these kids.
I like that you are. I like that you can see the good, you can see the positive in the younger generation.
Hey,
right now.
I'm all, there's some pretty neat stuff, and like I said, I don't necessarily, they might like some stuff that I don't care about.
Sure.
I don't care.
So,
it doesn't affect me.
Kind of a hot button topic. So to you, in your mind, is hot spotting saying I am hunting in the state of Kansas?
No, it's not. And people get mad at me sometimes.
People get mad on the internet. If someone mentioned I hunted South Dakota and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Okay. All right. Well, that's obnoxious. Okay.
It is.
Now, if you say I hunted this wildlife management area at this spot and this and this and this, that becomes hell, I don't know. I mean, it's just, it's questionable. You got to understand that you're going to be adding additional pressure to it.
Sure.
Now, if you want to, it's just how you go about it, I guess, as much as anything.
Sure.
And I understand, especially Kansas, because Kansas gets beat up when Texas is bad. Because I know I'm that way. When Texas is bad, I'm like, let's go to Kansas. And me and everybody else that hunts in Texas is going.
You're all
to
going to Kansas, yeah.
And that becomes a problem.
Sure.
And public land is a big deal. I hunt primarily public land when I'm, everywhere but Texas.
Sure.
I hunt a lot of public land, and so it's a big deal, but you got to be careful how you talk about it in places that have an enormous amount of traffic.
Sure.
Because I know I do it. If somebody mentions something, I'm like, oh, let's go see that. I don't know about that. Let's go check that out. I do it.
They had luck in Colorado. Let's go to Colorado.
Yeah. I will jump from Facebook to Google Maps like that. And I am just
and then you double check it with Onyx, and then
Yeah, I'm like, where is that? Oh, that looks kind of cool.
It's tricky. I know.
Yeah, and you look at the number of things that are available nowadays. It is crazy.
Sure.
OnX is the most. It's just awesome.
It's fire. It's fire.
It is really, really. You can do a lot.
I've put in so many pins in Onyx that it's starting to slow down a little bit for me now.
Yes.
Like trying to scroll.
You open it up and you look at the state. It's just pins.
Yeah, it's just places I've never been, but I've just.
Okay, so I've started doing this. Okay, I put my Covey locations now, I put them into folders. They've got this new, I don't know how new it is, but they have a folder thing. Okay. And so I put I do stuff by year. And so that way I can, so that's kind of a cool, I've been talking to them about some stuff there's some stuff that we want them to change because I'd like for it to be easier to do. And they've done some stuff. They have a pretty cool product.
That's awesome. I don't think I've used folders. I don't have any. I'm so bad. I think every year I've changed my color coding system. So one year it's blue for finding birds. Next year it's red. Then it's back to yellow. And I'm like, what did I do?
You have to be consistent.
Yeah, I'm not at all. It's so bad.
Yeah, I'm on them right now because they don't have enough icons for different kinds of birds.
Yeah,
and so I hunt in a place that has quail and it has woodcock. And I want to mark a covey find and I want to mark a woodcock find. Sure. And so I'm having to use different colors. And I'm like, that's not right. You've got 12 different kinds of deer images. I was like, I'd like to have a couple of different birds.
I want a prairie chicken.
Yeah,
I want
exactly. That's right. I want to be able to tell the difference between a prairie chicken and a sharptail, in the map. So, but the folder thing's kind of cool because some places that I hunt, I'm like, okay, I want to see 2021, and you can turn on the entire folder and see it, and then you press another button, and it cuts the whole thing off.
So do you do this same, you still put a pin down, but then you put it into a folder after?
You have to tell it what folder it goes in, and then you have the ability to cut on. And I may be saying it wrong. I'm not an Onyx expert by any stretch.
No, that's
but you are able to. So I have a folder that'll be 2021, and you
put in your quail pins into that folder.
Yeah, okay. And it'll give me the ability to cut off everything. And so what's nice about that is that you don't end up
the clutter.
Yeah, you don't end up with all this clutter on there. Or if you want to see 3 or 4 years, you can open them all up and then look at it and go, and start to cut stuff off.
I think I have a project tonight.
Yeah, because I'll go in and I'll mark every time I find a covey. I'll mark it and I'll be like, I know I've got that covey. It's I'm 200 yards from where I marked it. Last time I found it. But I'm still because I want that time of day and I want I want to know what time of day I found them. And, So, and I want to know that I found them on this specific date. So
sure, no, that's important. Yeah. Awesome, Steve. All right. Last thing we're going to wrap up here with is a rapid fire section. I'm going to ask you a couple questions. You give me your off the cuff answer, and we'll wrap this thing up. And to everyone listening, this is the first time I'm doing some new questions with you, Steve. So,
all right,
couple oldies, but we're throwing a couple new ones in there. So, switching things up a little bit. All right, for you, what came first, the dog, the gun, or the bird?
Dog.
Okay. What gun are you carrying into the field, and why?
I have an AYA number 2. It's a 20. Ronnie Smith conned me into buying it because he said that I deserved a gun of that caliber.
Have you lived up to that?
No. It's very nice. It's a neat little gun.
Okay.
I really like it.
Okay.
But I am not a big gun guy. The fact that I paid that much for a shotgun, I bought it with Cabela's points. Okay.
Oh, hey, there you go. There you go.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. I'm not a gun guy either. Is AYA the brand?
Yeah, it's a Spanish.
I'm going to get so much hate for that.
Brand. That's okay.
I'm just going to say it.
I don't know how popular it is. It's just beautiful.
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. All right, we're going to throw a new one in here. Hardest bird to hunt over your dogs and why?
Ooh, I will preface this with saying that I have never hunted chukars. Okay. That is on the list. I would probably say Huns. It'd be a toss-up between Huns and blue quail. Huns
are blue quail mountain quail?
No, blue quail scale quail.
Okay.
Yeah, scalies. Yeah.
Okay.
But it would be a toss-up between those. Probably scalies.
Okay. Okay. This might be hard for you because you've had a few breeds. Favorite dog breed besides the ones you've owned?
Oh, goodness. Oh, I don't know. Favorite. I like Vizslas.
Okay.
I've never had one, but there's something about them where I'm just like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Kind of intriguing.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll just go with Vizsla.
Vizsla. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, I'm surprised you didn't say the Cocker.
Well, I've had.
Oh, you have?
I've never had an English. I've had an American Cocker.
Gotcha. Okay.
So,
good job. You're following the rules then. Good job.
Yeah.
You're listening.
Maybe.
All right. Let's do a couple more here. Oh, this is kind of a fun one. Jeremy wrote me this one. If you could buy one person's dog right now, who would it be?
Ooh. Oh God. If I could buy one person's dog.
Yeah. Who would it be and why?
Oh man, that's a tough one.
I know. It's a good one.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't thought about that. Oh God. I don't know. Gary Surratt has some really nice dogs.
Okay.
Pine Hill Kennels.
Okay.
I would probably go and swipe one of his.
Really? Okay.
That would be, yeah. And I don't know. I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know. There's a couple of guys that are still breeding some really nice LHUs.
Okay.
Yeah. So Gary has some really nice dogs.
Okay. All right. Very cool. That was a successful one. Took you a second, but you got there. You got there.
I haven't thought about that.
I know. That's a good one. Yeah. Jeremy, thanks for writing that in, buddy.
I do have a buddy of mine that's got a dog that I would steal. His name's Willie. I would take Willie.
I'd take Willie.
Yeah.
He'll take Willie off his hands.
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna do two more here. Least favorite gun dog name.
Oh God.
You've probably heard a lot.
Drake.
Too many Drakes you've met?
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Everyone listening, this is nothing personal.
Maybe Labrador's named Bo.
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 I've met a couple Bows.
Yeah. I have a list of dog names.
I was going to say, someone like you who's had this many dogs, who's been in this a while, this is probably getting tricky now, isn't it?
Okay, so well, I mean, it is one of those things. As a general rule, I don't repeat. I have a Dot right now that actually didn't belong to me as a young dog, and my vet calls her Dot 2 because they already had a Dot, so she's Dot 2.
Okay.
But I had a guy that I hunted with. He was a friend of a friend, and we hunted up in Montana one year, and there were a bunch of us there, and he had a dog named Snake.
Okay.
And I was like, and you're way too young to remember Escape from New York. Nope. But Snake Plissken, Escape from New York, for those of us that are 50 and up. So I was like, oh yeah, I put it on the list, man. I was like, yes. And then the next day we're out in the field and he's calling his dog. And every couple minutes it says, Snake.
That's terrible.
Took it off the list.
Terrible idea.
But yeah, I have a long list of that'd be cool.
Okay.
Because it's just one of those things where I hear one or I think of one,
Jot
and I'm
it
like,
down.
that'd be cool. Yeah. And then I have ones that are like kind of throwaway names for me where I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe. You know.
That's a pro tip right there. Get a little note thing in your phone, make a folder, and just write down names that you
cool
you hear.
names. Yeah. You know. Yeah.
I like it.
Just cool names.
I like it. All right, last question here. Go ahead.
Bird dog names are a big deal.
Oh, they are. It kind of I don't know. You get that dog for 15 so years, and it's I don't know. It's important.
It's
I agree.
It's a big deal.
All right, last question. Beverage of choice after a hunt.
Topo Chico.
Topo Chico. There you go.
Yeah.
Haven't heard that one in a little while.
Yeah.
That's a good one. I like that. I usually drink one of those during when I record, but ran out.
Yeah. We're having a hard time finding them around here.
Oh, really?
As a glass shortage or something.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
There's a shortage on everything. It's like one week it's this, next week it's that.
I know. It's very sad. It's very sad.
Oh, gosh, man. Well, Steve, thank you so much, man. This has been a blast getting to talk to you more and hearing some of your wisdom and knowledge on Garmin and bird dogs and all that good stuff. So
awesome.
I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate it. And glad to help.
Yeah,
we can.
Absolutely, man. Gundogsupply.com.
Yep.
You on Facebook, Instagram, anything like that? Right?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. My Steve Snell on Facebook.
Yep.
Is the easiest way to.
You're pretty active on Facebook. You're more active on that, I feel. Right?
Yeah, I've got a blog, stevesnell.com. It's a little. I haven't added anything to it in a while. Most of my stuff is on Facebook. Okay. But
did you commit to doing a post a day a while back?
I did, and I made it about 150 days.
I was tracking along with that. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I tripped up And then I got in the middle of another project, and I was just like, okay, but I'm starting a new thing, and I'm supposed to be writing every day, and so I'm gonna try it a little different. It was a challenge. It was good. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
Congrats for keeping it up even 100 days. That's pretty good.
It was tricky, but I gotta go about it in a little different way.
Okay.
So, but I did enjoy it. It was a lot of fun.
That's fun.
So,
well, can't wait to see what's next. So,
yeah.
All right, Steve. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for your time.
Sure thing.
And we'll be talking soon.
All right. Enjoyed it.
Thanks. Well, that's a wrap of episode 65 with Steve Snell of Gundog Supply. Steve, thank you so much, man. I've wanted to get you on this podcast for a long time, and thank you for carving out the time and just going in depth and unpacking it all for us, from collars and some pointers and Brittany's, and just really love hearing from you, learning from you as well. So again, thanks for your time, brother. Really, really appreciate it. Hey guys, that's a wrap for this one. If you guys are enjoying the podcast, be sure if you could head over to Apple Podcasts and just leave a rating and review. It's really going to help the show, help just again the podcast algorithm get the show higher up in the search results when someone's searching Upland Podcast or Hunting Podcast. So would really appreciate that. Also, would love for you guys to share it on social media. Just click that share button, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram, and share the episode. Would love to hear what the episode meant to you, whether it's an old one, whether it's this one. Would love to see again what kind of impact this show, this episode, whatever it might be, has had on you, your hunting journey, or your dog. So anyways, guys, really appreciate it. Again, hope everyone's doing well and having a great season so far. We are late October of 2022, and we got a lot of time left ahead of us to hunt some birds, and hope everyone's getting out there. Anyways, until next week, be sure to put some miles on those boots and follow your favorite bird dog. Take care.